Well, if it ain't your old pal Jeremy Mountain here with another episode of Blue Mafia. Bills lovers everywhere united. Bills are looking a little bit better. Josh Allen's looking a little bit better. Defense is looking a little bit better. Terrell Bernard's looking a little bit better. Things are going pretty well for the Bills. But it's a big squish the fish matchup this weekend. We will talk two at a time. We'll talk the Hounds of the Dolphins to be prepared for so that you are not scared for. And, of course, on the back end, it's the implications. Top 5 quarterback matchups around the NFL. You know the drill. Come on now. This ain't your first time around here. If it's your first time or your last time, thank you for listening. Let's get right into it. Terrell Bernard. So, Tremaine Edmonds no longer here. Terrell Bernard, the new middle linebacker. We see how Milano has taken over as the leader. We talked about it last week. Tune in. Come on. Keep up. We do it for the love of the game. We do it the love of football. But we do it for you out there so you could stay informed. And if you were listening last week, you would have heard me talking about Terrell Bernard and how he doesn't have to do all of the quarterbacking for this defense. I had heard through another source that Matt Milano had been the quarterback when Eric Bieniemy referenced how highly he spoke of Milano. He said, I know that defense and I know how much that Milano is responsible for and the fact that he's... That told me that Bernard can just run around and play with his hair on fire, and boy, oh boy, did he play with his hair on fire. Multiple big plays, multiple retained interceptions now for both Bernard and Milano, and they are playing top-notch football. So, any question marks about Bernard? The only question mark, Brother Reisky brought up a good point that there's a chance that he could get injured. We're not going to wish that into the universe because anyone can get injured, but he is slight. You look up his size and weight, it's not exactly what you think of when you think of a middle linebacker. But I did see a video, and go to my Twitter because there was a video that said something about, if you're wondering why guys are going off so much in the NFL nowadays, this is why. And it was just a compilation of absolute kill shots. And I'm going to be honest, it was refreshing. Make football tough again. Moving on. Number 2. The weaponry moving forward for this Dolphins team is concerning if you are a Bills fan. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, Twitter, just going to call it Twitter forever. A lot of people talking about how they don't hate this Dolphins team. They don't hate this McDaniels team. They don't hate Tua. And I understand that. There's not exactly the same amount of animosity as some of the Marino Dolphins hate with Brian Cox that I can remember as a little boy, but I think that's because the Bills have completely owned this Dolphins team for the last 5 years. There's only one victory for the Dolphins, which was on that very, very hot day down in Miami that the Bills were forced to stand on the sideline in the sun. But other than that, Josh Allen has owned this Miami team, and despite the fact that they did play well in the playoffs last year with Skylar Thompson, backup quarterback, this is a different Dolphins team. And this is not the team that the Bills have owned the last few years, and I don't expect McDermott or the roster to take this Dolphins team lightly, because I think obviously Tua has earned respect across the league. He has prevented himself from getting hit. He has gotten the ball out quickly, but they're playing at a level of confidence that few teams reach. And I've heard them be referred to as the greatest show on turf, similar to the old Rams. And they deserve it. Hill, Waddle, both outstanding receivers, both certified players, big fans of them on the field. Devin A-Chain, if you listen to Pat McAfee, you'll probably know that joke, but A-Chan, running back, when they drafted him, I knew that he was going to be impactful, and he had his coming out party last week where I believe he caught 2 and ran for 2 in the 70-point explosion for the Dolphins. But A-Chan is tough, and he's not even their first running back. And behind the 2 top wide receivers, I've always been a fan of Braxton Berrios out of Miami U. He is a weapon in the slot, sort of like a Cole Beasley, but younger, faster. And River Craycrafty, a.k.a. River Craycraft, that's his real name. You may know him. You may not. But these two, Berrios, Craycraft, Bills fans should keep an eye on them, because with obvious sense of urgency for McDermott and the defense to be focusing on Hill, Waddle, Craycraft, Berrios, those are the guys that will probably see some opportunities on the road in a tough game, and if they make the plays, will be big plays. Will they make them? That'll be up to the Bills defense. And speaking of the Bills defense, I said something last Sunday. Maybe it's time for Hill to be matched up with Kaiir Elam. I understand that he has been somewhat of a disappointment for Bills fans, and people were scratching their heads the last 2 weeks, but it dawned on me that perhaps McDermott was saving him and saving Hamlin potentially for extra depth, to not have any tape, to not have any scheme, to not have any proof for the Dolphins to scheme against. Put my tin hat on that one. But I did see a few people talking about that this week on Twitter, and I wasn't going to be that guy to say I told you this, but I wish I would have tweeted it before them, because I probably would have it up on the screen right now. Quick reminder here. Tyler Kroft, former Bill, on the roster for the Dolphins. I don't know if I like that. Tin Hat Tim over here believes that playbooks and secrets and signals are shared amongst teams and players, and I do believe that the NFL has an issue potentially with that sharing, and or if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Maybe there should be some oversight on sharing of playbooks and signals. There was a report this week that the Cowboys felt as though Ezekiel Elliott and freshly signed Will Grier potentially could share signals, and the Cowboys were going to be taking precaution against that. Been saying it for years. Number 3, quick shout out, Matty Hall, friend of the pod, friend of the fam. He put it this way: take away Tua's first read and fold him up like a suitcase. And I agree. All the respect in the world to Tua. We can talk about how we don't hate Tua. He can be a nice guy, but he can't win the game from his back. And this Bills defense, boy, oh boy, would it be nice to have Von Miller this week, but Leonard Floyd, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, they're playing at an elite level. Tua knows that. They're going to try and get the ball out quick. They're going to try and run the ball. I feel good about this game, but only if the Bills can get to Tua. If they can't get to Tua, then we might be in for a track meet. But fold them up like a suitcase. Let's do it. Moving on. Number 4. Speaking of how this game is going to go, will it be a fight or will it be a race? Is it going to be a track meet or is it going to be a bloodbath? Will it be a game of toughness or will it be a game of finesse? I have a little bit of a feeling that Shawnee Mack is going to try and make this game a little bit of a slugfest. And I think that the Dolphins, coming off that disgusting effort by the Denver Broncos last week, I think they're going to come in a little bit overconfident. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to win this game against Buffalo, but I think that the fact that the Bills took that loss on opening night and got embarrassed, I do believe that that humbled them in a way that Miami has yet to be humbled. And there's a strong chance if the Bills can get to Tua that they will be getting humbled this Sunday in Buffalo. But they will have another chance down in Miami. Shout out NFL schedulers for flipping the script and making that happen with a cold game in Miami later in the year. Number 5, the Hounds. Every week, we're going to give you the Hounds to watch out for on defense that may or may not screw up your Sunday. May scare you a little bit, but if you prepare, you ain't going to be scared. So, Bills fans need to watch out for Jalen Phillips, very large man, teammate of Greg Rousseau, equally as big. We talk about him every year. He's a beast. And this line is a beast. This linebacker core is beastly. And the back end is beastly as well. The serial butthole fingerer, Christian Wilkins, who's always a problem for Allen, always gets in his skin, gets under his skin and in his skin. Christian Wilkins, Raquan Davis, both problems on defense, on the defensive line. And then at the middle linebacker position, Jerome Baker, veteran, scary. Andrew Van Ginkel will be in there. He's always causing problems. He sort of looks like one of those Patriots long hair linebackers. Bradley Chubb, another one, beast. And then obviously Xavier Howard. They don't even have the superstar there, but they have Eli Apple, Xavier Howard, Javon Holland. I mean, this whole roster is like an all-star team or a Pro Bowl team, and it's obvious that people want to go to Miami. And Mike McDaniel has this team playing well, and he has this team playing together. And just a quick aside on Mike McDaniel, I think he's the coolest coach in the league. It's very simple. I don't think there's any question that he is the coolest coach in the league right now, and that's going to make it even sweeter to kick his ass. I'll give you my final prediction. Shortly before kickoff, quick shout out, Jeff Wilhelm, friend of the pod, longtime buddy, teammate, once gave me his fake ID so I could get into bars on Chippewa. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Gave me a quick attaboy for a positive final book it prediction last Sunday. We drop them every Sunday. Sunday, BlueMafia.com. Read it. Pre-game dump. It's the top 5 quarterback matchups of the week with huge implications. Number 1, Lamar taking on Watson. Both of these guys are extremely talented. I watched them both play each other in college, Clemson, Louisville. It was one of the best college football games I've ever watched. Kids out there, go watch that YouTube. both guys just made play after play, and here they are years later playing against each other, both getting paid big bucks. But they're both kind of up against it right now. They both have obviously chances to make the playoffs, but they're in a very competitive AFC North, and big bad Odell Beckham ended up one thing goes out about Odell Beckham being with the Kardashian, and all of a sudden he's off the team. Go figure. All of a sudden he's got an ankle. Go figure. But Lamar loses Odell, loses the running back. I'm impressed with how Lamar Jackson can single-handedly carry a team, because for years now I've said I just don't see it as a passer, but the fact that he still can treat an NFL defense like a group of high schoolers at this age still, it just demonstrates how much of an incredible athlete he really is. And he's really up there with Michael Vick at this point to me in terms of the athleticism and running ability. Vick was something that we had never seen before, but I never thought Lamar was going to make it this long as a starter in the NFL. And he continues to impress me, despite the fact that he's not that impressive of a passer. He just wills his team to victory, and for that, he is respected here at Blue Mafia. Watson, on the other hand, I said this to my buddies the other day, the injury to Chubb could potentially be the best thing possible for Deshaun Watson, because now he has to put the team on his shoulders. It is his team. The offense will revolve around him, and ultimately he might start to come out of his shell a little bit now that it's on his shoulders. We'll pick these at the end, as we do every week. Shoot, I'm going to have to check my scores from last week. I think I was 3-2, but we'll update it on the Twitter. Number 2, Baker at Jameis, I believe. I don't believe that Father Derek Carr is going to play. I believe he is out with a sprained AC joint in his shoulder. But Jameis is going back to Tampa, and boy, is he going to be pumped up. And Baker's coming off an ugly loss. Disappointing, very disappointing effort from the Bucs versus the Eagles. But the Eagles are obviously one of the best teams in the league. Hoping for Baker to rebound a little bit, because I was getting my hopes up that he was going to start to take off a little bit in Tampa, and just didn't see it last week. But ultimately, in that NFC South, someone is going to have to win the division. Is it going to be the Panthers? Probably not. Could it be the Falcons? They're so boring. Desmond Ridder, boring. Drake London, boring. This is why this game makes the implications, because every week I'm going to give you the top 5 quarterback matchups that are going to be worth a watch, because they're going to have playoff implications. Early in the year, this one is going to matter later in the year. Number 3, Pickett at CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud making his inaugural visit to the top 5 quarterback matchups. Stroud looks good, man. He might have been on it last week, but he looks good either way. And they took down the Jaguars. Yeah, we did have it last week. They took down the Jaguars, and Pickett turning it around a little bit. People are getting a little bit more confident. Ultimately, though, I don't know if I see it with Pickett. He seems like a really good dude, but he seems like a backup to me. But the Steelers are always good. They can do well without him being great. They can win that division without him being great. If he doesn't turn the ball over, if they can establish any form of a run game. It's kind of odd that the Steelers don't have a very dominant run game. But CJ Stroud looking good. Would love to see Devin Singletary getting a little bit more action down there. But they're going to be home, and they're going to be in the all red, and they're going to be looking sexy. Can they turn it up and go to 3-1 and beat the Steelers at home? People will really start talking about that if that happens. Number 4, Dobbs at Purdy. Josh Dobbs, Tennessee Warrior. He had some interesting content this week. I don't hate it. I'm glad that he's sticking up for himself, and I'm glad that he's sticking up for the fact that he's doing something that deserves attention, because it does. Guy signed with the team 17 days before the season. I think he's like a rocket scientist or something like that, engineer. But I watched a lot of that Cowboys game because I didn't even want to. There wasn't a lot of games at 4 on Sunday, but that one was on, and they won that game fair and square. And I don't know if I'm Jerry Jones and I watched that Cowboys game last week. I don't know if I feel very good about Dak Prescott when a guy like Josh Dobbs goes out there and does basically what Dak Prescott does for 130, 100, 200 million less. Dobbs is looking good, and I love to see it. I love a good underdog story, and I love the fact that the Cardinals are silently doing well. Just wait for Kyler to all of a sudden want to come back as they're like 7-2, and Kyler's like, "This is my team." That would be so terrible. But I'm rooting for Dobbs, and they're taking on the little brat Purdy. I respect Purdy. I respect what he's doing. But as I said a few weeks ago, I'm getting a little sick of it. I want to see him take a couple licks. Took one lick in his career, and he broke his little chicken wing. But they're sick. But I'm sick of them. I'm sick of the 49ers. They're another team like the Dolphins. We could see a Dolphins 49ers Super Bowl if nobody gets hurt on either team, but somebody's getting hurt on every team this year, and it's going to require the team to overcome injuries and have a little bit of luck here and there. I try to like the 49ers. I try to like Shanahan. I try to like McCaffrey. I try to like Debo. I try to like Kittle, Fred Warner. But they're just not East Coast. There's just something that I can't get with. And for that reason, I'll be rooting for Dobbs and the Cards. And number 5, we could not put it on this month or this week. We don't usually put the Bills in the top 5 quarterback matchups because, we want to give you a nice little sprinkle. We want to give you a nice little variety. But I could not put Tua at Josh on this one. This has got to be a Game of the Year candidate. Let's hope it's not a stinker. You're going to get a bonus pick on the fly right now, which I'm not going to be able to go back on in my pregame dump on Sunday. Shooting on a Thursday because we got to go check out Maryvale at Iroquois. 2 undefeated teams. Under the lights tomorrow, Friday night. Also keep an eye out for Lancaster at Bennett. 2 big games in Western New York. Now let's pick these sons of Scotland. Number 1, Lamar at Watson. In Cleveland, that defense is going crazy, but I think Lamar knows Cleveland. I think he's due for a good one, and I just don't totally trust Watson right now, but Watson could certainly start to look like his old self. He is certainly starting to. We'll see if that starts to ascend in the right direction for him. Number 2, Baker at Jameis. I got to go Jameis because it's in Nolans. And I don't like how Baker looked last week. And this is a redemption game for Jameis technically, or at least he'll make it one. Number 3, Pickett at CJ. This one is tough for me because I really, I'm starting to get into this CJ Stroud character. He's a prototypical passer. And I don't know if he's going to be great. But right now, for a rookie coming into the NFL with a lot of question marks in terms of talent and a new team, CJ in the all red. Does he get an education this weekend? Possibly, but here on Blue Mafia, we're going to pick him. CJ over Pickett. Number 4, Dobbs at Purdy. Can Dobbs continue to just ruin the rich man's season? Is he a genius that is just trying to absolutely break the matrix of the NFL? I think so. And I'm going to go Cardinals. No, I'm not. 49ers, they're going to win. They're at home. Tua at Josh. Did you think that we're going to pick the Dolphins? What the fuck is wrong with you? We're going Josh. I think that the Bills are, because they're at home, I think that they're going to run away with it. I think that there's going to be a lot of fireworks. I think that if Allen tries to outduel Tua, he will outduel himself. And what we've seen in the last 2 weeks, he's got to keep doing it. He's got to keep playing under control. And that doesn't mean only for himself. He's the leader of the offense. He is the maestro of the game. He needs to continue to choke out the defense like the Python, Tom Brady, and I think he will. I think the Bills get up. I think a couple of possible mistakes will keep them in it, as we have seen over and over. But ultimately, I think the Bills will get to Tua, and let's hope he survives the night. Thanks for listening. All jokes aside, I hope Tua's, healthy enough to where his brain is okay and doesn't break anything. But I want him to be a little bit sore. He's got to get a little bit dirty this Sunday, and I think he does for the first time in 2023. Thanks for listening. I'll get you guys out of here. Thanks for sticking around. Keep on keeping on, because we ain't quitting. Don't get off the train, baby. We'll see ya. Love you.